Good morning, all. This session is going to be giving a very bird's eye view, just the outline of the project management. And what we see here are only very minimal topics. It's a very vast topic, but I've just tried to pick up the most important and the very essential ones for us. So I think we can go ahead. So this is just going to be an introduction, as I said. We all know, we have heard of project management, everywhere. It's the buzzword. So there are a lot of fun memes and jokes around project management. These two, I just found them very apt. Like usually, the project manager is given very minimal budget and very minimal timeline, and still is expected to do the best. And even when the best is done, it is still considered like, okay, for the next time we'll reduce it even more. So this is how practice is. So we all have seen and encountered such situations. And I forgot to put a disclaimer here, like any resemblance that you feel to the manager here is just fictional, or it's your imagination. I don't intend to point out at anybody. So this was just some images that I found funny. Then going about further, the agenda. The agenda is first we'll have an introduction, and then we'll see the project life cycle, the key components of project management, the process overview, and the best practices in project management. The first point about the introduction, what is project management? It's a structured approach to planning, executing, and closing projects. And its primary goal is to achieve specific objectives within defined constraints such as scope, time, and budget. So these three are very critical. The scope on what we are going to build, the time within which that has to be built, and the budget, of course, the cost, which has to be, again, strictly adhered to. So these are the very principal points that a project management office or the project manager will have to have a watch on. Then we see the project life cycle here. So the project life cycle, every project, it follows a life cycle. So it's from beginning to the end, that is from the conception to the completion. The life cycle, it consists of phases. What you can see here are the project initiation, then the project planning, the project execution, and the project monitoring and control, and the project closure. So these are the stages in a project. And what happens during initiation? We all know initiation means that it's the beginning. So that is when the project gives a kickstart and it starts. Then the planning, of course, there has to be a plan on the resources, who will be working on the project, and the timeline within which that has to be completed. Then the project execution phase is where the actual project work happens. And when it's executed, of course, there is going to be monitoring and control. So there are some sites where they club the execution and the monitoring and control together into one stage, because it definitely the monitoring and control also belong to the execution stage, because when the project is executed, as it's being executed, there has to be a continuous monitoring and control which has to keep going on. So that's about the project execution. And the project closure is the final stage where we close the project. And after we close the project, we have to note down the lessons learned, because that would help going forward in the future projects. So this is the project life cycle, on the just an introduction to the project life cycle. And next is the components of project management, like the key components, because the project management is there are a lot of documents and lot of registers, like risk register, communication register, stakeholder register. There are a lot of things that a project manager has to maintain. So we'll just see the key components, because as I said, it's very vast. To begin with, the first is the project charter. So this is the beginning document where the project sponsor, whoever is funding the project, is giving the responsibility to the project manager to start, and he acknowledges that the project manager is going to handle the project. So this is the a project charter, and it's also an important point to note that the project charter needn't be exactly like a document. It needn't have a regular document setup. It can just be a mail from the sponsor telling that the project manager can start the project. So that is the first document that we have, the project charter. And the rest that we have, the other components that are mentioned are the integral parts on the project management, like how it has to, what are the most important things that are needed. So after the project charter, then it's the scope definition, where the scope is defined, like we say that this is what is going to be done in the project, and that is the scope definition. Then comes the risk management, because there can be risks involved, and those risks, if the risks can be visualized, whatever can be visualized earlier, they will be updated in the risk register. And there could be that there are risks that the project team comes to know during the execution phase. They also can be updated in the risk register, and the risk is managed, and later the risk is defined, and they do a quantitative and the qualitative analysis of the risk, and then think on how to manage and mitigate the risk. So that is the risk management. And the next one is the Gantt chart and the timelines. This everyone will definitely be familiar with. Like a Gantt chart is a representation of the project schedule, and it shows the start and a date and the end date of each task, also the dependencies between the tasks. And it helps the project managers to ensure that the tasks are completed on time within the planned sequence, and they are very essential for the tracking the progress. Then the cost management, it is very crucial that the costs are managed, and the cost management involves estimating costs for resources, labor, and materials, then tracking these expenditures throughout the project. Effective budgeting and financial oversight ensure that the project stays within the financial constraints. And even if it's completed within the constraints, as we saw in the beginning, it could be that the sponsor still feels there has been an over budgeting happened. So the next time it would be tightened even further. So this is the regular life scenario. But yes, these are the important components in a project management. The next thing is the inefficiencies that we see in a project. What are the different types of inefficiencies that we would see when we handle a project? They have given very nice terms for these, and we can actually relate to these terms because we would have definitely experienced these either with us or with the people around us. So the first one that you see is the student syndrome. That is usually students, they have the inclination to study only at the last fag end of the term when the exams happen. So we also keep it for the last minute of the project and then rush and complete that. So this is a very inefficient process of working. And how to overcome that student syndrome is mentioned here. I'll toggle between this sheet, this slide and the previous slide because this will give us immediately on the overview on how to solve this issue. So we just saw what is the student syndrome, and how this can be solved is we can break tasks into smaller steps and set early milestones. So we don't think to ourselves that there is very long time available, because when we give earlier milestones, we'll feel, okay, there is less time available and we'll work efficiently and monitor progress. If we are the project manager, then we'll have to keep on monitoring the progress, because we shouldn't let the people to relax and finally struggle. So we are in turn helping them, asking them to finish things earlier. So this is how the student syndrome can be addressed. The next term will be the dropped baton. This happens in teams where there is a total teamwork involved. There is one team who completes the work and then gives the work to the next team. So if the next team is not ready to take up the work, then the baton is dropped. Baton here, if you don't know, it's a small stick that's used. We'd have seen during relay races, where in the relay race, when one person runs and gives the stick to the other person. So if the other person is not ready, all the effort that the first person has put is all going waste. So that is typically a dropped baton. And how do we address that drop pattern is, again, we have to have clear communication during handoffs and cross-functional training, because in case the other team is not able to take up, if our team is also made efficient, and if there's a cross-functional training, and if we have the bandwidth, we can take that ourselves. The follow process. So there has to be a strict follow process. If they are ready, just make sure before your work is getting completed, make sure the person next is ready to take that up. So this is how a dropped baton can be prevented. And the next point is sandbagging. So in project management, sandbagging refers to the practice of holding a complete work until the true case arrives. This also happens, like there have been estimates given and we still want to stick on to the estimates because we don't want to show them as completed. So we still hold on. This is called as sandbagging. And how this sandbagging can be mitigated is the goals must be set realistic. Like we shouldn't set very high goals or very low goals, and recognize the effort. So if they complete early, when we recognize that they have completed early and we give them rewards and recognition, they realize their quick work is being valued, and that gives them motivation to complete the work and tell that they have completed the work as soon as they have actually finished it. Then foster accountability. Yes, we make one person accountable for that job. So when they are accountable, they would definitely want to do it at the earliest and show that it has been done in a very quick time. So this is how sandbagging can be mitigated. And the next thing is Parkinson's law. This occurs when an activity is completed before the deadline, but resources are still improving the work until the due date is reached. So we complete the work. In sandbagging, it's just completed and they just hold on. But in Parkinson's law, it's completed and it's being improvised. And this is not bad, but still this swells the work, though it could have been completed earlier. Because we want to make and fine polish the work, it keeps on getting improvised, and it still eats time. So this Parkinson's law, again, we'll see how we can make it efficient. So for the how we can do is like time boxing the tasks, where we say that it has to be completed within this time, and prioritize the tasks, like we say which task has to be done first, and then when we put it in an order, that helps in reducing this. And frequent reviews for most of the inefficiencies. If we see there will be a point mentioning about frequent reviews or the follow-up, which is very essential. So at times when we get people to tell us, or our managers follow us, we get very irritated, but that's a very essential part, because that makes the work to go in a phased manner. So that is a very essential. The follow-ups are essential, but of course when we get too many, we get irritated. That's quite natural. And self-protection, the last inefficiency is self-protection. This is the concept when people fail to report early completion of activities out of fear. So this is due to fear. So we saw that sandbagging and Parkinson's, also the work is completed earlier, but during self-protection, they don't tell it because they are scared of the management team, because they will adjust the future standards and demand more next time. This is what we saw in the first screen that I showed. When the project manager is happy that everything is completed, then he gets a comment that later the next project, it'll be on tighter budget and a tighter time frame. So due to this problem, this is definitely a self-protection, is where the team members are don't want to open up, or even the project manager also faces such issues. And how would we work on that is that trust-based environment. So this is very, very essential, the trust-based environment. When we know that we are trusted, when we know that we are given this responsibility and we will not be questioned, then that helps us, that removes the self protection inefficiency. And data driven estimates, again we have to have estimates, proper estimates, so we don't give huge time. And collaboration between the team and the project manager, it helps them to know that this activity can be completed early, and what to do if the activity is completed, then decide on what next. So this is how the how to handle the self protection. So these are the inefficiencies, and we saw how these inefficiencies can be avoided. So by applying these methods, teams can reduce inefficiencies, improve productivity, and maintain a balanced workflow. So this is just the overview that I wanted to give. So with this, it's completed. Thank you all.